before we move on to our main event, let's take a few minutes to put Jennifer Ragan-Fore on the spot. Jennifer is the Director of General Membership for ISTE, the International Society for Technology in Education, and oversees ISTE's Special Interest Group program, the Second Life Project, and the development of new member initiatives. In Second Life, Jennifer goes by the name Kitty Gloom. Jennifer, welcome to Metanomics. Now, from the ISTE website, I see that in about 18 months, your community grew to over 3,000 members. So what exactly are your members doing in Second Life?
Our members are really working on so many things. I mean, with a community as broad as 3,000, they just are working on so many different kinds of projects. I know you're going to be talking with two of them a little bit later in the show, and they have some great examples of how they're using Second Life. But our members are using Second Life to collaborate on real-life projects. They're learning best practices to bring back to the classroom or their work in the Teen Grid. They're building their professional networks. Some of our members have even found jobs through other members that they've met in here in Second Life. Many of them are really building their leadership skills and their service resumes as they start groups, they organize conferences, they lead their own projects. I think the two biggest commonalities probably among our members are building their professional networks and volunteering. Educators are really such a helpful, giving group, and they're so supportive of each other as they're learning new technologies. At ISTE, we have this core group of docents who help new users, they promote ISTE, they make connections among groups of educators, and they're really the lifeblood of this project, and they devote so many volunteer hours to this project. Volunteerism, even if it's really only an occasional thing for some of our members, it really is a big part of their membership core.
Now, so I'm just thinking there's so many ways that people could be coming into ISTE's Second Life group. They could be ISTE members in real life who are coming into Second Life specifically to interact more with ISTE. They could be people who were already in Second Life for non-professional reasons, and then realize there were professional opportunities. Do you have much insight into where your membership comes from?
It's really sort of all over the map. I think when we first started, it was definitely a bigger group of people who were interested in education or technology but weren't necessarily ISTE members. As time has gone on, the proportion has really shifted up. So I would say, sort of anecdotally and with some smaller surveys that we've done, probably about 75% of the people who are active in our membership group actually is a real-life member. Some of them have become members after finding us in Second Life, and it just wasn't something that they had on their radar. Either they didn't know about ISTE or they just didn't think that we were kind of that sort of organization, and so they were pleasantly surprised and have joined. But there is really a mix of people. Some of them have found us because we're promoting it to our membership, and some of them already were in here working and sort of exploring before that.
Mm-hmm. And now, I assume that in the larger ISTE organization, your members are not just teachers, but they're administrators, library science professionals, IT. What is the mix like in Second Life, and how does it compare to ISTE's broader membership?
Well, ISTE as an organization really is very broadly focused, which is both the challenge and the opportunity. There are a lot of different audiences for us to please and reach out to and engage with. And as you mentioned, we have tech coordinators and media specialists and teacher educators and tech directors, administrators, teachers, computer scientists. We also have corporate members and leaders of other educational nonprofits. So when we first started in Second Life, we had a really strong concentration of library media specialists and a really large higher ed representation. As time has gone on, our base in Second Life really has expanded quite a bit, so there's pretty good representation across all the various roles represented in ISTE's real life membership, though I do think that media specialists and teacher educators really do continue to be our two strongest groups in the world, probably slightly out of proportion with ISTE's general membership.
Now, I'd like to change the subject just a little bit. You gave a talk a while back, and you listed the 10 lessons that you learned in using Second Life to build this professional community. And one of your 10 lessons was be open to happy accidents. So is there a story behind that?
I'm a big fan of Guy Kawasaki and his ideas about innovation. And so this is sort of the let 1,000 flowers grow concept. You may be surprised really by what catches on or who adopts your product or project or how it's used. But if you go with the ideas as they take root, even if it's unexpected, good things will sort of come out of that. So when we first started in Second Life, we definitely had some preconceived notions about what our members wanted and how they'd use an environment like this. I think in the beginning, we really thought the sole attraction would be professional development. This was based on some really broadly focused surveying we had done the year before leading up to this project. But what we found really early on was that our members desperately wanted to network and socialize, and that those elements were at least as important as the professional development applications, if not more so, especially in those early days. In the 2,000 responses that I received to those surveys initially, I don't think there was a single request for more networking opportunities or social interactions, so we really thought our assumptions were pretty data-driven. But, you know, one thing that we did was we were able to respond pretty quickly to that being a need or a concern or a desire of the population. And I think since those early days, there have only been maybe 5 or 6 weeks out of 18 months when we didn't host a social, and those were usually over things like holiday weeks, etc. So you don't always know what's going to be popular or catch on, particularly when you're innovating. Some things really can't be picked up on a survey because some things are so new that our own reactions and behaviors can't always be predicted. I think the key thing that we did right in those early days was noticing that need and being nimble enough and willing to respond to it.
Okay. Great. No, that's a great lesson that we can all take away, including I hope my staff at Metanomics is paying attention to that as well. Now, you recently were involved with the big conference, the National Educational Computing Conference, that. And so I guess I'm wondering what role ISTE Second Life played in that, and how did you work with them?
Well, ISTE produces the National Educational Computing Conference. I sort of start by saying that because everyone doesn't always know that because the names are different. This is the conference that ISTE produces and really is one of the biggest things we do throughout the year. The whole staff, volunteers, members, everyone's sort of working towards this event. And a big part of what we do in the membership team is to provide opportunities for our different member communities to really connect, to share content, and to be highlighted at NEC. And our Second Life group is one of our really most active member communities, has a lot of visibility usually at NEC, but this year certainly they have the biggest visibility in a lot of different key ways. In addition to just a whole host of sessions and workshops, our community sponsored playgrounds for new users to learn about Second Life. They sponsored a lounge for impromptu presentations and discussions, and then several key mixed reality events throughout the conference. We had an opening reception and a closing keynote with avatars mirroring the real-life content and video streaming back and forth between real life and Second Life. And then one of the really special Second Life projects related to NEC this year was our recreation of the Alamo campus. We kind of like to create projects that reference NEC's geographic locations. And since NEC was in San Antonio this year, it was just a really natural fit. And the project involved many volunteers, living history guides, resources from the Alamo itself, and key partnerships with the local PBS station and the Alamo staff. And it was a really great way to get a lot of members and volunteers interested in a project and being able to gain some experience on working on something that they could then bring back to the classroom or bring back to their work in other ways.